Imagine looking up and seeing the moon turn this deep, dramatic red color, a real blood moon. It captures attention everywhere, doesn't it?
It really does. It's spectacular.
But what if that exact moment in the sky also caused a significant pause down here on Earth, like closing down one of the oldest, most revered temples for almost 16 hours?
It's a fascinating intersection, isn't it?
Exactly. So today, that's our deep dive. We're looking at September 7th, 2025. There's a total lunar eclipse happening, and its shadow falls not just on the moon, but also, metaphorically on the sacred routines at the Srisailam Temple in India.
Yeah, we want to unpack that relationship between hard astronomical science and these really ancient spiritual traditions, how the cosmos and daily life weave together.
So we'll journey sort of virtually to the Nalamala forests in Andhra Pradesh, home to Srisailam, while also looking up at that big celestial dance of the earth, sun, and moon.
It's compelling because, an eclipse is so scientifically predictable now. We know exactly when it'll happen, why it happened.
Right, cosmic clockwork.
Precisely. But it still triggers these deep cultural responses. At its core, a lunar eclipse is just geometry, really.
Geometry. Explain that a bit.
Well, picture the sun, the earth, and the moon. For a lunar eclipse, they have to line up perfectly, but with Earth directly in the middle, between the sun and moon.
Okay, got it. Earth in the middle.
Yeah. So our planet basically acts like a giant parasol, you could say. It blocks the direct sunlight from hitting the moon's surface, casting this big shadow.
Earth as a giant umbrella. I like that visual. And I guess there are different kinds of eclipses. It's not always a total blackout.
That's right. Yeah, there's a whole range. You get penumbral eclipses where the moon just skims through Earth's faint outer shadow. Honestly, you might not even notice it.
Subtle.
Very subtle. Then you have partial eclipses where part of the moon goes into the darker inner shadow of the umbra. Looks like a bite's been taken out of it.
Okay.
But the main event, the real showstopper, and what we're getting on September 7th, is a total lunar eclipse. The entire moon passes right into that dark umbra.
And that's when we get the blood moon, that eerie red glow.
Exactly. That's the moment.
So what causes that? Why red? It seems counterintuitive if it's in shadow.
That's the cool part. It's actually thanks to Earth's atmosphere. Think about a sunset here on Earth.
Okay, red and orange skies.
Right. The atmosphere scatters the shorter blue wavelengths of sunlight, but the longer red wavelengths manage to bend or refract through the atmosphere around the edge of the Earth.
So the red light kind of leaks around the edges.
Precisely. That filtered reddish light is what illuminates the moon when it's deep inside the shadow. So you essentially see the light of all the sunrises and sunsets on Earth projected onto the moon.
Wow, a sunset on the moon, that's quite poetic.
Isn't it? It's a beautiful consequence of physics.
Okay, let's nail down the timings for September 7th, 2025, especially for viewers in India. When does it all kick off?
All right, so the first noticeable part, the partial phase, begins at 9:56 p.m. Indian Standard Time.
9:56 p.m. Got it.
Then things get really interesting. Totality, when the moon is fully in shadow, starts at 11:00 p.m. IST.
And the peak, the deepest part of the eclipse.
That occurs at 11:41 p.m. IST. And this is significant. The totality phase will last for 1 hour and 22 minutes.
That's quite long for totality, isn't it?
It is, yeah. One of the longer ones in recent years, which is great for observers.
And the whole event, start to finish.
The entire process, from the very first faint shadowing to the moon being completely clear again, spans about 5 hours and 27 minutes. The partial phase wraps up at 1:25 a.m. IST on September 8th.
Okay, a long night for dedicated watchers. Who gets the best view globally?
Well, it's pretty widely visible this time. Large parts of Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia are well positioned. We're talking maybe 85% of the world's population potentially able to see at least some part of it.
And India.
India, especially places like Andhra Pradesh, should have a fantastic view of the entire event, weather permitting, naturally.
And the best thing, you don't need special filters or anything, right? Unlike a solar eclipse.
Absolutely right. That's the beauty of lunar eclipses. You're just looking at moonlight, which is reflected sunlight, dimmed by Earth's shadow. Perfectly safe for the naked eye.
So any tips for watching?
Yeah, definitely try to get away from bright city lights if you can. Find a dark spot. Maybe bring a chair, a blanket. Binoculars are great, actually.
Whoa, what do they add?
They just give you a much closer look. You can really appreciate the colors during totality, and even see craters drifting into and out of the shadow during the partial phases. It enhances the experience.
Good tip. And I suppose there are apps for tracking it in real time.
Oh, tons of them. Astronomy apps, websites. Yeah. They'll show you exactly what's happening when. turns it into a more, interactive thing, a real moment of connection with the cosmos.
It's amazing we can predict these things so precisely now. But people have been watching eclipses for millennia. How did ancient cultures figure them out? You mentioned the Babylonians.
It's truly mind-boggling. The Babylonians, as far back as the 8th century BCE, were keeping detailed records and recognized patterns, like the Saros cycle.
The Saros cycle.
Yeah, it's a period of about 18 years, 11 days, after which the sun, earth, and moon returned to roughly the same relative geometry. It allowed them to predict eclipses with surprising accuracy. This September 7th eclipse, for instance, is part of Saros series 128.
Wow. So it's connected to past eclipses in that cycle.
Exactly. There was one in 2007 in the same series. It's this long chain of cosmic events. And what's fascinating is how they wove these predictions into their worldview, their mythology.
Right. It wasn't just science for them.
No, it was deeply spiritual. And even today, modern science still uses eclipses. NASA studies Earth's atmosphere during lunar eclipses by analyzing the light filtering through it, the same light that causes the red color. The moon acts like a giant mirror.
That's incredible. A mirror reflecting our own atmosphere.
It's a continuous thread of observation, from ancient Mesopotamia to space agencies today.
Okay, so from the vastness of space, let's come down to Earth to a specific point where these ancient views are still very much alive. Srisailam Temple. Paint us a picture. What's it like there?
Srisailam is, well, it's special. It's nestled deep in the Nillamala Hills in Andhra Pradesh, Kurnool district. Really lush, green, quite remote.
Sounds beautiful.
It is. The temple complex itself, the Sri Mallikarjuna Swami Temple, sits high up, maybe 1,500 feet, overlooking the Krishna River. They call the river Patala Ganga there, which means like the Ganga from the netherworld. It has this very sacred, ancient feel to it.
It's a major pilgrimage site.
Huge and quite unique because it honors both Lord Shiva as Mallikarjuna, one of the 12 sacred Jyotirlingas, which are manifestations of divine light,
Okay.
and his consort, goddess Parvati, as Bhramarambika Devi, who is considered one of the 18 principal Shakti Pathas, centers of feminine divine energy.
So both Shiva and Shakti powerfully present in one place.
Exactly. That makes it incredibly important for both Shaivites, followers of Shiva, and Shaktas, followers of the goddess. Millions visit, seeking blessings.
And its history must be immense. How old is it?
The history is incredibly deep. There's archaeological evidence suggesting worship on that hill dating back to maybe the 1st century CE. We have inscriptions from the Satavahana dynasty mentioning it.
Wow, nearly 2,000 years.
At least. And over the centuries, various rulers added to it. The Kakatiyas built fortifications in the 13th century. Then the great Vijayanagar emperors, especially Krishnadevaraya in the 15th and 16th centuries, really expanded it, building these huge gopurams, the gateway towers, and mandapams, the halls.
With lots of carvings, I imagine.
Oh, intricate carvings everywhere. Scenes from the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, depictions of gods and goddesses. The place is just steeped in history and artistry.
And legends, too, I bet. Places like this always have amazing stories.
Absolutely. The air buzzes with them. One major legend connects it to the story of Daksha Yaga. When goddess Sati sacrificed herself, parts of her body fell across the Indian subcontinent, creating the Shakti Pithas. It said her neck landed at Srisailam, making Bhramarambika Devi incredibly powerful.
Her neck, okay.
Another lovely story involves Shiva and Parvati themselves. After a sort of challenge from their son Kartikeya, they appeared on this hill, Shiva, as Mallikarjuna, meaning jasmine white Arjuna tree, and Parvati in the form of a bee, a Brahmara. That's where Bhramarambika gets her name.
A bee, interesting.
Yeah. And the name Srisailam itself means the auspicious mountain. It's also linked to the famous philosopher Adi Shankaracharya, who supposedly visited in the 8th century and composed some important hymns right there.
Just layers upon layers of meaning and history.
Truly.
Which brings us back to the eclipse. The temple authorities have made a big decision for September 7th because of all this. They're closing, right?
That's correct. The temple's executive officer announced it. They're implementing a closure for nearly 16 hours.
16 hours? When exactly?
It starts at 1 p.m. on September 7th, right through the afternoon, the eclipse itself, and overnight until 5 a.m. on September 8th.
And what does closure mean? No entry at all?
Complete suspension of all regular services. No darshan, that's the viewing of the deities. Critically, no sparsha darshanam, which is when devotees are allowed to touch the main Shiva lingam. That's a very cherished practice there.
Okay, so that's paused.
Yes. And other rituals, like the symbolic celestial wedding of deities, are also suspended. This applies not just to the main temple, but also the smaller sub-temples nearby, like Sakshi Ganapati. It's a comprehensive pause.
Wow. So what happens when 5 a.m. on the 8th rolls around? Do the doors just swing open?
Not quite immediately for general worship. First, there are purification rituals. The priests perform shuddhi, cleansing the temple premises with holy water, herbs, chanting specific mantras to restore the sanctity after the eclipse period.
A cleansing process.
Exactly. Then they've outlined a specific schedule for reopening, especially for those who book darshan tickets online for the 8th. Sparsha Darshanam resumes in slots, starting from 2:15 p.m. to 4 p.m., then Alankara Darshanam, viewing the decorated deity, from 5:30 p.m., and Sparsha Darshanam again from 9:00 p.m.
Seems well organized managing the flow.
They have to be, given the number of pilgrims. It's a careful balance between tradition and logistics.
It really makes you wonder why, though. Why does this astronomical alignment trigger such a deep-seated religious observance? What's the thinking behind the closure?
Right, to get the why, you really have to look at the underlying Hindu cosmology, especially the story of Rahu and Ketu.
Rahu and Ketu, I've heard those names. They're associated with eclipses, aren't they?
They are. They're often called shadow planets. The myth is quite dramatic. It comes from the Samudra Manthan, the churning of the cosmic ocean to get Amrita, the nectar of immortality.
Okay.
A demon, Swarbhanu, sneakily disguised himself as a god to get a drink of the Amrita. But the sun god, Surya, and the moon god, Chandra, spotted him and alerted Lord Vishnu.
Uh-oh.
Vishnu acted fast, severing the demon's head with his discus, the Sudarshana chakra. But because a drop of Amrita had already gone down his throat, both the head and the body became immortal.
So an immortal head and an immortal body.
Yes. The head became Rahu, and the headless body, or tail, became Ketu. And because the sun and moon exposed him, Rahu, the head, bears a grudge and constantly chases them, trying to swallow them.
Ah, so that's the eclipse. Rahu's swallowing the sun or moon.
That's the mythological explanation. He manages to swallow them temporarily, causing the darkness, but because he has no body, they eventually pass through his severed neck, and the eclipse ends. It's a cosmic drama of revenge.
That's an amazing story. No wonder eclipses were seen as significant.
Exactly. So this myth leads directly to the concept of grahan, which means seizure or grasping. Eclipses are traditionally seen as inauspicious times when negative energies might be stronger.
And that connects to Sutak Kal.
Precisely. Sutak Kal is the period of impurity associated with the grahan. It starts several hours before the actual eclipse, usually about 9 hours before a lunar eclipse.
And during Sutak Kal.
Well, traditionally, people avoid certain activities like cooking, eating, starting new ventures. Temples close their doors. Pregnant women might be advised to stay indoors. It's a time for caution, prayer, chanting mantras for protection.
So the temple closure at Srisailam is fundamentally about protecting the deities.
That's the core belief, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Protecting the idols, the sacred space, from these perceived negative or harmful energies or influences during the Grahan period. Some scriptures suggest the divine energy of the deities can diminish during an eclipse, making worship less effective or even counterproductive.
So closing the doors keeps the sanctity intact.
That's the idea. It prevents those negative vibrations from entering the sanctum. And then, after the eclipse passes, the shuddhi purification rituals are essential to cleanse the space and fully restore its sacred energy before worship resumes.
It's fascinating how this ancient understanding persists alongside our modern scientific view. How do people reconcile these today? Is it seen purely as tradition, or is the belief still strong?
That's a great question, and I think the answer is complex. You'll find a spectrum of views. Some people, perhaps more secular or scientifically minded scholars, might view it primarily as superstition, a holdover from a pre-scientific era.
Sure.
But for millions of devout Hindus, it's not necessarily an either. It's a way of integrating this cosmic event into their spiritual framework. It's about respecting tradition, honoring the beliefs passed down through generations, and acknowledging the eclipse within that context.
So faith and tradition provide a meaning framework that science doesn't necessarily offer.
You could say that. Science explains the how, but tradition and mythology often provide the why in a human sense, the meaning, the appropriate response. Srisailam's 16-hour closure aligns almost perfectly with that traditional Sutak Kal duration. It shows a real commitment to upholding those ancient practices.
It really highlights how different ways of knowing scientific and spiritual can coexist and shape human behavior around the same event.
Absolutely.
So thinking practically again, if you're a devotee or maybe just someone planning to be in the Srisailam area around September 7th, how do you navigate this?
Well, the temple authorities seem quite organized. They've put out this schedule in advance. If you want to be there right after it opens, you can aim for the 5:00 a.m. reopening on the 8th. for the purification rituals and the first prayers.
Okay.
And if you've booked darshan online for the 8th, they have those specific time slots later in the day to manage the crowds and prioritize ticket holders. So planning ahead is key.
Right. And what if the temple itself is closed? What else is there to do or see nearby during that 16-hour pause?
Well, the region itself is beautiful. You could definitely explore the Nalamala forest area responsibly. Of course, it's a tiger reserve.
Wow, okay.
There's the Srisailam Dam nearby, which offers pretty spectacular views of the reservoir and the river gorge. You could visit some of the caves in the hills. Some are associated with ancient sages. Good for quiet reflection.
So connect with nature or find quieter spiritual spots.
Exactly. And interestingly, the temple even offers virtual darshan options through their app these days. So even if the physical doors are closed, technology provides another way to connect.
That's a neat blend of old and new. What about the wider impact? Does an event like this ripple outwards?
It definitely does.
Oh.
Locally, you'll see businesses, vendors, transport providers adjusting to the closure and the subsequent rush when it reopens. On a broader scale, events like this generate interest.
In astronomy, maybe?
Yeah, astronomers might host viewing events. It could get people interested in local astronomy clubs, or even inspire some dedicated eclipse chasers to travel. It becomes a talking point, blending science, culture, and travel.
And maybe there's a deeper takeaway here for all of us about the value of such a pause in our own lives.
I really think so. We live in such a fast-paced world, don't we? An event like this, a celestial event forcing a cultural pause, it kind of invites us to stop, to look up, literally, at the cosmos, and also to look inwards, perhaps, at our connection to heritage, to tradition, to something bigger than the daily grind. These enforced moments of stillness can actually be quite powerful for gaining perspective.
A chance to appreciate both the universe and our place within it through different lenses.
Beautifully put, yes.
Well, this has been absolutely fascinating. We've journeyed from the mechanics of a lunar eclipse, that amazing blood moon phenomenon, all the way to the Nalamala Hills and the profound 16-hour pause at the ancient Srisailam Temple on September 7th, 2025.
It really shows how science and faith aren't always separate streams, but can flow together, shaping human experience in remarkable ways.
A reminder of our connection to it all. So as the moon slides out of Earth's shadow that night and the temple prepares to reopen its doors, maybe here's a thought for you, listening. What personal pauses could you create in your own life? Moments to step back, reflect, and maybe find a renewed sense of awe for the universe out there, and perhaps for the traditions and histories that shape the world right here around us. Something to ponder.
Definitely something to ponder. Long after the eclipse is over.